Salida, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jim and welcome to the Sounds German review for the new Mono Inc. album, Welcome to Hell. German dark rock combo Mono Inc. are back with their 10th full-length album 14 years after their first full-length player being released, and the band has been pretty successful without ever seeming to really take a break from releasing content. I can't even count on how many billings for festivals around here I saw their name pretty much up top, and since 2011 their albums were in the German top 50 charts with 4 top 10 albums even. I also remember them contributing to a bonus disc for a Subway to Sally album where they did a cover version of the track Auf Kiel. Not only do they put out content all the time, this is a 2-disc album. However, I wouldn't really call it a double album. The second disc contains 10 of the 11 songs from disc 1 in what is called a classic version. Basically acoustic reimaginings of the songs with a heavy focus on a piano lead, but still the same tracks overall. The only exception that is not on the second disc is the song Unconditionally, because it already is an almost acoustic track with mostly a piano lead. So Mono Inc. has undoubtedly a lot experience under their belt, which makes me sad to say that this album actually bored me a bit. The opening track, The Heart of the Raven, has a nice build-up with music box-like melody playing and almost unnerving drawn-out violin notes, and the stoic, deep voice of Martin Engler does the rest on this track. In the second half it continues to build up some tension with military march-like drumming, which then however culminates in this super kitschy and absolutely unneeded e-guitar bridge. I also feel this is one of those intros that sounds a lot more epic than the album finally was, lacking most of the features that you will find on the disc afterwards. The eponymous Welcome to Hell starts off with a good drive though. The heavy drumming, and I think it's a didgeridoo they threw in there, reminded me a lot of old Subway to Sally tracks, but not even 10 seconds in that gets replaced by dominant synth lines and guitars. And good lord, what have they done with the guitars here? I don't know if the mix is just totally botched or if it's really supposed to sound like this. Oftentimes you will find the guitars being mixed in such a way that they just drone on in the background, almost as if the guitars were meant to be barely heard, and I feel that in many instances you could have cut them out without losing anything of substance here. Where you can hear them more clearly is in those aforementioned e-guitar focused bridges that almost every track on this album uses. No matter if it's a more pushy, energetic track like Welcome to Hell, the more balladesque Risk It All, or the melancholic A Vagabond's Life. You will get your e-guitar bridge, so help you God. And I don't even mind that the lead is taken by other instruments, mostly the synths. I just find it strange how the guitars are utilized on this whole album. On the other hand, you have tracks like Long Live Death, which leads into the song with a flute melody, which then gets repeated by the female vocals. Now, the female vocals on this album are really nothing to write home about, usually singing the melody or in some instances singing alongside Engler, but I still found them pretty underutilized. I think the only time she is allowed to really sing vocals on her own is in the song Reign of Rats, and even then just briefly. For the rest of the album she is basically condemned to be background dressing. That said though, the compositions are your typical dark rock fare. Sure, they switch through all the gears with tracks like Reign of Rats having a heavy, stompy atmosphere to it, Unconditionally being the melancholic piano track, or Funeral Song with this really catchy synth line leading into the hook of the track. But if you listen to some dark rock in your time, you will see patterns and elements you have seen used like this countless times before. There is barely anything exciting happening on this album. It's all very much by the book and cliched, and I know of course that this is somewhat part of the genre here, but come on, you can stick to genre conventions and be not boring. That also goes for the lyrics, by the way, which tell the story of people living through the plague, somewhat coherently, I guess. If I hadn't known about the narrative before going in, I would have probably had trouble following it a bit, but once you know it, you can see the connections pretty clearly. But it can't be said that Mono Inc. failed with any single song here. Strange mix, underutilized components, and these really unnecessary bridges aside, the tracks are played competently without a doubt. You never get the impression the band tried to reach something that was out of their grasp or anything like that, but I would also kinda expect that much from a band with this much experience. Still, everything on the disc is okay. It really didn't blow me away or even slightly impress me, but I also didn't dread to listen to the album again once I was through with it. Especially the synths create some incredibly catchy moments that might stick with you if you want to or not. Also, Eric Fish from Subway to Sally is featured on the track A Vagabond's Life in a surprisingly subtle way that makes it almost easy to overhear him. In fact, I didn't notice him until my second or third listen through. His contribution does stand out more on the alternative version you can find on the second disc, but I really liked how he was implemented here. And while we're at it, I did like the second disc a good bit more. It fixes some of the problems I had with the first disc automatically by its nature. Gone is the strange mix or the annoying e-guitar bridges. Instead, you get a super clean sound. These versions of the songs are of course a lot calmer and slower paced and even more simplified than the already pretty simple main chorus, but the back and forth between mostly piano and strings still makes it enjoyable. Why the flute you can hear in A Vagabond's Life, for example, wasn't utilized more, I don't know again. I think it played nicely together with the rest there. The second disc certainly doesn't turn this thing into gold all of a sudden, but to my own surprise, I found it quite enjoyable and liked these alternative versions quite a lot more. So, as a conclusion, Welcome to Hell is dripping with cliches and stereotypes. While it's not a total failure, it does, however, fail in doing interesting things. Given the time frame between albums, I can't say I'm even surprised about this. Maybe Mono Inc. should take a few years off now to, get the juices flowing again, take a little bit of a creative break. Because I have never seen a band that could dish out this much content and deliver high quality output at the same time. The second disc is better by simply eliminating a lot of elements from the equation, in my opinion, but it doesn't save the album as a whole. If some simple, cliched dark rock is all you want, Welcome to Hell is as good a choice as any, I guess. But if you want even a little bit more from your music, I think you should honestly give this one a pass. So, I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, please leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you didn't like it, we have a button for that too. And if you have listened to this album, feel free to tell me in the comments what you thought about it. And if you want at least one weekly music review from an artist or band you probably never heard about before, just subscribe to the channel. You can also follow Sounds German on Facebook or Twitter. I do usually post daily new music videos on there from all kinds of artists. I hope to see you again next time. Have a nice day. Salida.